Hey everybody, I'm Mike, checking in today with another video, and I wanted to do a video about advice. Is it control or is it love? And advice is a sensitive subject and very tricky. Um, there's one thing I've heard is you don't give unsolicited advice. So if somebody asks for it, then it's generally okay. But it's tough, you know. We want to help people, and especially when people are hurting or struggling. um, I want to help people. Part of my videos are wanting to help people, and I naturally gravitate towards this kind of teacher role. And probably part of my shadow side is that I love to gather information and feel intelligent, and that probably helps me avoid some vulnerability or some feeling less than. But I'm trying to be as much as I can on the other side of that, but it still comes up for me. Certainly comes up for me, but I see it and I don't act on it a little bit more. There's still a little impulse to do that, but I see it, and if I'm conscious, I can see that little voice in my head, and there's the little, I can see the impulse or the desire, and then I can also see that there's the small voice in the pause that says, hey, probably doesn't need to be said. But here's an example of when I did not do that, and it still happens. I'm definitely getting better. There was a situation with my partner that just happened a couple days ago, and I didn't give advice, and it worked out perfectly. And there was the inclination to do that, and some part of my conscience said not to, and it worked out perfectly. It was way better than if I had, and she solved the problem and did an amazing job. But there's somebody in my complex, my community, who I see quite often, and they were trying to lose a lot of weight, and they've done an amazing job. They were planning a trip, and they decided they want to lose like in I don't know, like 5 or 6 months. They wanted to lose like 50 pounds, and there's all kinds of stuff on YouTube these days, and I've done it. All the diet fads and the keto and the fasting and carnivore. The list is endless, and I've done a lot of it and have a lot of experience with it. And my friend was basically doing a keto fasting diet, except he really leaned heavily towards the fasting, and literally he was fasting. I mean, this is generous, because he was fasting more than this, but multiple days a week for over 10 weeks. And I was concerned about him. Other people were concerned about him. He was losing a lot of weight really quickly. He was looking good and feeling good. And one day we have a community hot tub, and we were hanging out in the community hot tub. We're like a family in there. We go down there every evening. And one day I was telling him, I was trying to, sometimes I give advice by talking about my experience. And that's a good way to do it, is instead of talking directly to somebody, you talk about your experience. So we can do that, but also we got to be careful. If we're not vulnerable and talking just about our experience, it can easily get into control. And that's what happened here. I was talking about my experience. He wasn't listening, so I talked about it more. I was really concerned about his health, but also I think that it was coming from a place of, I've done this, I know better, here's what you should do. And when somebody doesn't listen to that advice, then my ego wants to push it, and then other people who were in the hot tub kind of jumped on the bandwagon, because what we were saying was kind of right. That the health risks were there, but then other people jumped on the bandwagon and started giving the same advice, pushing him, almost arguing with his logic. And it got to the point where it made him feel terrible. And he just got out of the hot tub and left. And when he left, I said, hey, I'm really sorry. I love you. And that's why I brought this up. And you know what? I really do like this guy. I really do have a love for him and a fondness in my heart. And we have a lot of things that we share in common and we're connected with. But I don't know that love was part of the equation right there. I mean, of course, there's some desire for me to help him, but control can come into it so quickly and I don't even realize it. And so it did, and all of a sudden I'm coming from a position of I'm better than, I know what you need to do, you need to listen to me, and then when you don't listen to me, I'm gonna argue for my position or my point and really let you know that I know more. And I mean, this might sound silly to you guys, but I mean, this is, I do this stuff. And it's good for me to talk about this because I'm just teaching from my own experience and my own vulnerability. So I realized immediately that I had disconnected from him. I had probably hurt his feelings and I was totally in the wrong. And I think I went to him immediately, maybe followed him out. If I'm remembering correctly, I might be remembering this wrong, but I think I went immediately to him and I said, hey, what I said was wrong and the way I went about it was wrong. Please forgive me. I really value our friendship. And he listened, but sometimes that stuff is hard to repair. It doesn't repair with just a quick I'm sorry. And so the next day when I saw him in the hot tub, just me and him, I really spoke to him heart to heart, and I think he felt that. And I haven't done it since, and our relationship is repaired, and I'm really glad. I really do like him and respect his opinion. So this comes up so often. This can come up in relationships with partners and friends and children. And I think as soon as it feels like control and I know better and you're talking down to somebody, even if we're right, they rebel. And we get the exact opposite. They feel like it's not coming from a real place of love, because a lot of times love is just letting people be exactly who they are with no resistance. And it's a tough thing to do, is to watch people who are suffering, who are just having problems, or when we think we know the answer. But it doesn't work for me very well. I don't know, maybe it works for other people. So yeah, I'm just really conscious of it. I try to not to do it too often. Of course I slip up. The other thing is I'm in the recovery rooms, and that's how we help people, is we share our story of difficulty, vulnerability, and really all the problems that we had before we got into recovery. And that is a way we share our mistakes to help somebody else. Because if we went in there and just told people what to do, they would leave immediately. So we can't go in there and give advice. All we can do is talk about our struggles and then how we overcame our struggles, and people identify with hearing our mistakes and our vulnerability. So, but it's still tricky. I mean, in this situation, I talked to my friend about my experience with weight loss, and it went sideways. And another gross story is this one was a long time ago. This was over 20 years ago. And this was a really, ugly example. Is I was dating a woman, and we were actually living together at the time. And she came to me, she was having problems with depression, she was really upset, and she came to me one time and she started talking to me about all that, and I did not know how to handle any of that at that point in time. I was really young and naive, but I gave her advice, and you know, I think men do this a lot. We want to help and we want to fix, and I told her that she should see a therapist or a psychiatrist. And I thought that was really helpful. I really thought it was. And most of the time, I think people just want to be heard, and they want to be seen, and they want attention, and they want to be felt. They don't want an answer. They don't want to be fixed. They want to be loved. And love is just being there for somebody and giving them attention and listening. And I think that's the harder thing to do. The easier thing to do is just give them a quick fix and a solution, but that's not the solution. The intellect is often not the solution. I mean, sometimes it can help, but a lot of times just love, patience, and presence is the solution. So I think that's a good place to wrap this one up. All right, guys, I love you, and hope everybody has a great day. Bye-bye.